Hello and welcome. My name is Matt Prewitt. I'm president of RadicalxChange Foundation, and I'd first like to say thank you so much to the organizers of the conference and to Gollum Foundation and others for making this happen. We're very, very honored to be here, and I'm really excited today to be having this conversation about a really important institution, money. And I'm joined today by Ehud Shapiro and Joanna Erbel.
Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Nice to see you. So I'll give quick introductions, and I think set a little bit of context for the conversation, and then let's jump into your ideas. I know that you've both very committed thinkers to this on this question of the future of money. So, for the benefit of the audience, Joanna is an activist, a candidate for the mayor of Warsaw.
Former candidate.
Former candidate.
2014, yeah.
As well as a sociologist, a photographer, and publicist, and a curator. And I know you've done a lot of writing and a lot of deep study of different kinds of community currency initiatives. Ehud Shapiro is a professor of computer science, as well as a contributor, a very fundamental contributor to many other academic fields, including biology and nanotechnology. And Ehud's recent work has focused on the question of economic democracy. The reason that so let me give a little bit of background about RadicalxChange Foundation and about our interest in this question of money and currency, and then I would love for each of you to say a little bit more about your work and your study in the area. So RadicalxChange Foundation started in 2018 with the mission of taking a really deep look at some of the fundamental institutions of democracy and markets. So we are committed to the idea that for the future of democracy, what we need is not only a recommitment to the institutions of democracy that we have, but a very deep study of them, and with an understanding that some of the things that we consider to be the sort of building blocks of democracy, like elections, like voting, like property, and other kinds of bedrock pieces of our society, may not be fully democratic and are not beyond scrutiny, and in fact we're unlikely to successfully carry democracy forward into the 21st century and integrate it with technology and with the many sort of shearing forces against democracy without a really, really deep look at these basic institutions. One of the institutions that we have worked on over the past year or so is the institution of money. And in particular, we're thinking about our work is concerned what we call plural money, which is to say the idea that is sort of a universal metric of value or a universal yardstick of value shared across the entire economy may not be entirely coherent, may not be exactly what we need, may not be consistent with a fully democratic future. This is something that lots of people have thought about for many years, but there are lots of interesting possibilities opening up with new technologies regarding the future of money and regarding the design of this basic institution. So I would love to hear from each of you a little bit of background about your work and how it connects to the idea of money. Perhaps starting with Joanna.
Okay. Hi everyone. First thing, I have to admit that I'm not an expert of money, but I'm an expert of local communities. So my basic research is on local communities, and it's not only on the digital communities, but most of all of the communities that we call it like territorial communities, like current version of Greek idea of polis. So the people who live in the same place, they should be involved in the democratic procedures, on the strategic development goals, but as well they should have a possibility to decide how they exchange. And money is only one of the energies in current life. We are using often barter. We are helping each other. We are very good in volunteering, especially here in Poland. After the Ukrainian crisis, due to the Ukrainian war, we know that we are very eager to share things. We share our time, share our places, and how we access the idea of the money, that we try to answer the question how we can exchange all these energies, where money, we know, is only one of them, to create stronger communities. At the moment, I'm working on a cooperative, and my aim is to persuade a local government to start development cooperatives, which we understand the financial vehicles where people could invest, but they should be able to invest not only money, but as well their time, or put their goods, like parts of their garden and other stuff. And due to that, I think we need new approach to money and some type of tokens, which we call in Polish bony, to be able to connect all these types of the resources that we have. So I'm very interested, like what happens, like in this like alternative money. But my main aim is to strengthen local community, which is not very obvious, because often you have the approaches where you divide the real needs, like need for housing, need for energy, from the concept of the alternative money. And for example, new version of Bristol Pay, which is the new generation of Bristol Pound, its aim was to divide our activism from our like basic needs. They wanted to create a system when you can like gain points for being ethical, for being sustainable, but they couldn't be transformed into, for example, paying your rent. And the system we would like to bring closer is the idea that you can use some tokens to have to meet your basic needs. So this is the surrounding thing coming from.
Super, thank you. And Udi, I wonder if you can tell us a bit about your work over the last few years.
So I think I connect very much to what you said in the sense that strengthening local communities is a fundamental goal. And my work in the last 5 years has been trying to correct the digital realm in the direction of equality. Because I think specifically for local communities, we see that global platforms are sucking away value and wealth and control and power from local communities. And it seems like as if it's an inevitable consequence of how the digital world works. And actually, I don't believe this is the case. I think it is the current state of affairs where we have these global autocratic platforms on one hand and cryptocurrencies, which we can talk about on the other hand, but neither of them serves the needs of and empowers local communities. So my main goal is equality, and my work on sovereign cryptocurrencies aims to serve this goal of equality, and including through it empowering local communities.
So the first question that I'd really like to ask both of you is, what is the problem that your work is trying to solve? So what is the problem with money? You know, money is an institution that in many ways it seems like it, you know, just was invented out of the ether. It seems like something
sort of naturally emerges through our interactions and through our commerce. And yet both of you are, in your work, re-examining it and thinking about how to make this sort of fundamental institution better. So what's the problem with what we already have that, that you're trying to address?
Probably that we forgot why money was invented. Money was the idea that you have something like trust between the people, which is put into something really abstract to move around the city and move around the globe. And then that is spent to meet your basic needs, to buy something that you really need. Money was made for the speculation, but not in a way it is used now. Now this speculative strength of money is destroying our globe, is destroying our city. And many people who really need to have access to money, they don't have it. So thinking in a way how you can exchange your work for something, exchange the things you have for something else, which is not the money that you need, probably is the approach that will be able to solve our probably biggest problems, like access to the energy, access to help.
And is there something about how do you see the relationship between money and community? So why does your focus on the strengthening of community lead you to orient your attention on the question of money?
Because you need a token that you will exchange. Like in my local community, like in the city, people are exchanging goods for something, and usually they are like nice avocado, bottle of vegan milk, a bottle of wine, bottle of oil, another book, or some other thing. And what money allows you is to keep this exchange more abstract. Like in Warsaw, we used to have an idea which is called wymiennik. It was the place when you can change goods and your work for some money which was called alterka. It was like the alter money. But the problem with the system was that it was a Warsaw-wide system, and Warsaw is too big, so you didn't have enough people using alterka to make it sustainable. Sustainable, I mean, not going to the other side of the city to buy alterkas for a book that you could buy in a bookstore. That's why my main focus is on the local communities. And we use like the notion of money, or rather tokens, because this is something that is abstract enough and close enough to what people understand. It's different type of the money. Especially that we are in Poland quite accustomed to collecting stamps to get your 11th coffee free, to the loyalty cards and other stuff like this. So we want to show that thinking about alternative approach of the money, it can allow you to use habits that you already have, or you connect points by your app when you go to the store. Or to get, for example, like a toy for your child in the supermarket if you spend enough money. So we all do this, but we all do this in the name of the huge corporate actors. And what we really need to do is to use this approach to create sustainable local communities and to allow access of goods between us, not between us and corporation and back, but within the local community. And my dream about my local community, another local community, is that each of us would have its own development cooperative, which would be a kind of bank of money, bank of goods, that we would be using. It sounds quite primitive or tribal, but I think we are living in a world that we need both like the global connection and the global exchange of knowledge and local resources and network, because we are probably will be meeting more and more different types of power cuts, which means that you are offline. If you are offline, it's nice to have as well an analog version of connection with people. So big question for me is how to use the whole knowledge and approach and organization schemes that are used, for example, in cryptocurrencies, to have, how we call it, like analog plugs.
Mm-hmm. And so would you, when you say that, you mentioned sort of the idea that money is like an abstraction of value. So, you know, if you think of money that's being transacted at a more community-based level, it's still an abstraction, but it's an abstraction at a lower level, right? It's closer to the sort of concrete thing of trust and connection to a community. Is that fair?
But there's nothing wrong with the abstraction. There is something wrong with when the abstraction becomes an idol that we cannot control. And we need money based on values that are our values, not the values of the big corporations, made in a way reproducing the schemes that we can control. For example, we can say, like, I would be very happy if, for example, part of the price of food would be, sometimes you call it like water track. Then it would be obvious that pumpkin is cheaper than avocado or some other stuff. Or I would like to live in a world when we exchange our goods, like the local pumpkins, local apples, for example, for helping the farmer to gather them or to do something else.
Yeah, I think that's beautifully put, and to be clear, I totally agree. I think that my hope, at least in the construction of these kinds of institutions, is to make the abstractions closer to what we really care about, and to, you know, hopefully have kind of a democratic input into the fit between our abstractions and what we're really trying to create
because
in a community.
We live in a world of abstraction, like something like trust. This is something really abstract. Democracy is abstract. But the question is that making it real and remembering from it comes helps us to make good decisions. And what I know that in Poland we have a huge energy crisis now, like in many places in the world, and probably it's not an abstract idea, but we'll be simply sharing some stuff because we won't be able to buy them, because we won't have money. But for example, maybe we would have time to help my neighbor with kids and get something in advance, or to cook together, or buy things together, or do something together. If you look on the origin of this alternative money, most of them is crisis money. Well, maybe not most of them, but half of them. Half of them is the money, like Bristol pound, that was made to strengthen local community, understood as local businesses. So it was to trigger people to buy locally, not in the local trade shops, but not in the corporate shops. But the other original of the alternative money is crisis money, that people didn't have anything, they didn't have but they had time, and they created something abstract to exchange what they needed.
So would love to get your thoughts in a moment on what has made some of these past efforts successful, what has made them last, what has made them not last. But for now, I'd love to turn to Udi to hear a little bit about your quite cutting edge recent work on the creation of sort of personal or community based currencies, which has some quite interesting relationships to cryptocurrency, but is actually a system based on an entirely different architecture than the cryptocurrencies most people are familiar with.
Thanks. So actually, I'd like to go back to your question. What's wrong with money? What's the problem with money? Actually, I've researched this question for quite some time, and I have a deep insight which I would like to share with you. I think the main problem with money is that too many people around the world don't have enough of it. That's the problem with money. And and too many people around the world don't have it at all, actually. And this is a serious answer because what I'm proposing is actually aims to solve that, in a way. So the idea of sovereign cryptocurrencies is that anybody can print money. I mean, if the state can print money, why can't I print money? So it can be issued by people, by corporations, by cities, by states as well. But there are several principles that hold them together, and I'd like to share them with you. First of all, it's sovereign, so I can print as many UDI coins as I want, and you can print as many MAT coins as you want, and you can print as many Joanna coins that you want. So that's the first principle. The second one is we follow Putin, and the way he priced gas in rubles, each of us is going to price our goods and services that we offer in terms of our own coins. So if you want me to babysit for your kid, you'll have to pay me 5 UDI coins per hour. And if you want me to clean your garden, you'll have to pay me 20 UDI coins. And if you want to rent my car or stay in my apartment, you'll have to get my coins. And similarly, if I want something from you, I'll have to pay with your coins. So that's how anybody who is productive can establish value for their own sovereign currency. The other point is maybe the main point, and the kind of abstract way, or the kind of nice way to say it is that sovereign cryptocurrencies can turn trust into liquidity. So if people trust each other, then this trust can be turned, it's a digital means. Sovereign cryptocurrencies is a digital means of turning trust into liquidity. And the way it works is that if we all trust each other, then we can create mutual liquidity by me giving you 100 UDI coins and you giving me 100 MAT coins. And similarly, I give you 100 UDI coins and you give me 100 Joanna coins. So suddenly, out of nothing, I suddenly have 200 coins, 100 MAT coins and 100 Joanna coins, which I can buy things from MAT and from Joanna. And they can buy things from me and from each other. So just by exchanging personal coins, we've already created a liquid community out of thin air. And the last principle, which is the kind of the thing that holds this thing together, and really makes this work in a serious way, not just as a kind of something that feels like an imagination, is the notion of coin redemption. So the one and only obligation, it's like the protocol, the one that's hardwired into sovereign cryptocurrencies, is that when I offer my goods and services in terms of UDI coins, I also offer all the coins I own, I hold, other people's coins in terms of UDI coins, 1 for 1. So you can get from me a Joanna coin against an UDI coin. So if you want something from Joanna and you don't have Joanna coins, but you have my coins and I have Joanna coins, you can exchange them 1 for 1, and it's my obligation. So one way to think about sovereign cryptocurrencies or sovereign coins, it's a unit of debt. So when you have my coin, I owe you. And what do I owe you? I owe you any coin that I have against the coin I gave you. So this gives not only mutual liquidity, it has several technical properties. First of all, it makes personal coins fungible because you can exchange any UDI coin against any other UDI coin that I have. So all my coins are the same as far as you're concerned, which has implications, technical implications I can talk about later if there is. Second, there's a technical point that it really helps. It's the means for resolving double spending. You know that essentially the entire machinery of cryptocurrencies, all the software that hundreds of programmers are writing to create, 4,000 coins in the coin exchange, or 5,000, or I don't know how many. I've lost count how many coins, how many cryptocurrencies are in the CoinDesk or other coin exchanges. All they do is find solution to double spending, how to prevent people from double spend digital currencies. So coin redemption in a technical way resolves it without blockchain consensus, without miners, without anything. I'm responsible for resolving double spends in my coins. So if you double spend my coin, if you have an UDI coin and you double spend it and 2 people come complaining to me, I'm the one to resolve this double spend in my own coin. So that's the other thing. And another thing that coin redemption does is chain redemptions. So you can, if you need something from Joe and Joanna has Joe coin and I have Joanna coin and you have my coin, you can redeem my coin against a Joanna coin and then redeem from Joanna a Joe coin against Joanna coin and then go buy something from Joe. So you get, as long as mutual liquidity along the line, you can get something using chain payments. And the one thing this ensures, it allows is arbitrage. So if Joe's coin is extremely expensive and there's liquidity, you can actually get a Joe coin and sell it and make money on the arbitrage, which means that even though sovereign cryptocurrencies are individual and issued by each person independently, the fact that coin redemption requires us to redeem one coin one per one means that as long as there's liquidity in the community, all coins will be the same value. They can be exchanged one for one. So these are the basic principles.
And it's an important sort of inversion of the usual cryptocurrency structure because it's not trustless, right? It's entirely based on the idea of sort of trust between different parties who are transacting, and yet it has the form of a protocol with certain sorts of obligations. So that, for example, if I'm not redeeming my coins for other coins according to the protocol, then I essentially lose credibility, and the coins that I issue will lose value in the network.
I have one question for Udi. How in your system you decide that, for example, John coins are they value more than other coins?
Okay, so as I said, as long as there's mutual liquidity, if all the people here in the room have mutual liquidity, everybody has everybody else's coin, nobody is left without any other people's coins, then the value of all the personal coins of everybody here will be equal, because if they're not, then people will do arbitrage and close the gap, okay? So but it does not mean that these coins are equal forever. For example, if I become insolvent, and you have my coins but have nothing to offer, and I'm also decided to be lazy and go to the beach and not work, and I want babysitter for you, and I want to clean your garden, so my coins will devalue it, like if I'm insolvent. And so it's not that all coins are equal by decree. All coins of productive people or productive organizations who are solvent and not consuming more than they're producing will be equal, whether it's people or governments or corporations or state, they will be equal in value. So that's I hope I answered this question.
Yeah, but for me, this is the interesting. This is where the interesting part starts. Who decides and which work is more productive? Which type of value we need? We need more, because talking only about like the models, it's something which doesn't solve for me like the current problems. For me, it's answering how we would work, whether I will work in the future as an academic or as an innovator of people or a public speaker, or my main skill would be participating in keeping local farm, local city farm.
Can I answer that?
Please.
Okay, so I think you went far ahead. I'm talking about the very modest mechanism, but the basic answer is that going back to the second principle I mentioned, that every person prices their own goods and services in terms of their own currency. So I price my services in terms of UDI coins, and if I price them too high, then you will not use me. And if I price them too low, everybody will want it, and I will have too much work. You know, so nobody is controlling that. It's a distributed, decentralized system, and market forces, if different people offer the same, in case there's mutual liquidity, all coins will be the same. And if different people offering, using their personal coins, identical services at different prices, then people will flock to those who offer the cheaper services. So that's a very standard market economy. But the key point I want to stress, this whole thing, there's one and only goal for this, and that's equality. And it allows a community to bootstrap itself into a liquid economy without external capital or credit. So we don't need other people's money, we don't need bank credit. We, all of us, by simply, if we trust each other, it's a big if, but if there are geographic communities, people who live close by, you know, villages, close neighborhoods, family, friends, then there is enough trust in it to create out of thin air liquidity that will allow the community to trade without, and bootstrap an economy without capital or credit.
So I think it's useful to see that the establishment of trust and the establishment of sort of community support within the kind of economy that what you're proposing could create, in a way that's happening outside of the protocol of the currency structure that you're outlining. But what's useful, I think, is to see the particular problems that your design is addressing. So, for example, I think it might be helpful for you to say a little bit about, for example, like why the construction of the system that you're outlining on an existing cryptocurrency platform wouldn't work, or or like why couldn't we just use, for example, paper to establish the kind of network that you have in mind?
Okay. So first, let me talk about cryptocurrencies. I mentioned them briefly, but I'm interested in the digital world and in democracy in the digital world and equality in the digital world. And today, we don't have it. And cryptocurrencies theoretically can offer a platform to do things on top of them, but they are fundamentally by design plutocratic, not democratic. So the power is distributed. They're decentralized. That's good. So they're not authoritarian, which is good. They're majoritarian, which is also very good. But after we finished enumerating all the good things, now comes the last thing, which they are almost democratic, but they're not. They're majoritarian, but what counts is majority of money, not majority of people. So cryptocurrencies are, in some sense, a model or example for what I wanted to achieve, but leaving the plutocracy outside. So if one way to view my proposal is it's very much in line of other cryptocurrencies, except instead of being plutocratic, it aims to be egalitarian and democratic. That's sort of a high-level summary. There are lots of technical, I know, who is a computer scientist in the audience? Can I, okay. So for you, we can talk later. I think for the rest, I mean, the work I'm describing is in foundation, I submit my papers to theoretical computer science venues. So it's a mathematical, theoretical work, which hopefully will have implications in the real world, but I will try to stay at a higher level for this discussion.
And Joanna, I wonder if you could comment a little bit on, having studied lots and lots of real community currency systems, what have you learned about what makes them work? And I think I would love to hear sort of both sides of it. So what makes them work? And at least from a sort of a casual observation, the history of community currencies seems a little disappointing to me. It seems like there just haven't been as many projects that have succeeded on a very large scale as we would have hoped, given the clear sort of promise of this idea. And I wonder if you have thoughts about why.
Probably that many of the local currencies couldn't deal with the digital transformation from different reasons. Some of them didn't meet the needs, the technological needs that, because the local communities didn't have a strong enough network, because walls in the houses were too thick, so you couldn't do it easily. So you couldn't. So it didn't work. Another thing was that it was the case of Brussels pound, that it turned out that it's quite exclusive. That's probably, if you took the people with their PhD in the group of the people who were using Bristol pound, it was like 15 or 18% of the group, which is not the typical distribution in the society. Then it turned out that keeping the system from the technological side is too expensive. So you would have to pay more. Then you have the question that I'm always asked when I talk about the tokenization, that what will happen with the people who are not digital natives? What will happen with all the people who are not from our social class? That's why when I talk about like these alternative currencies, I like to remember about territory. That if you are thinking that the main aim is to make happy the people who are your neighbors, it's a different approach when you want to have a group of 500,000, 5 million users. Because you can have 5 million people who are very similar. Like we are very similar here. We are somehow different, have different approaches, but we can communicate together. We have time to spend Saturday like we spend it now. And I think we'll have another wave of the local currencies due to the incoming crisis. And what I think will happen, and you can see this kind of test, where, like there's an alternative money which was tested in Amsterdam. It's called Juliet. It's a token which is partly an energy token. So it would be wise to think when we don't have enough access to energy to say, you have to do some community work to get into the system. You have to do something which is really necessary. Not what you think is necessary, and then market will say whether other people will buy it. But we have to stop thinking from our individual perspective, but we have to start to think from the wider perspective, because our resources are limited. Especially now in Poland, we have limited access to energy. People who are living in houses which are centrally heated don't have the problem, but people who are using coal to heat their places, they will really have a problem. Probably will have as well problem with access to food. In future, from my perspective, it won't be like making my Joanna coin to change it into your coins, but making my Mokotów district coins, when we all together think what we need and how we can exchange it with other districts, and how we can exchange our work and our knowledge within the society. I spent probably more than 10 years as an unpaid public consultant, as an activist, and I think like people who are active in their society, they should be paid. But maybe they not should be paid in money, but they should be paid in some tokens you can use somehow. To go to the swimming pool, to get free lunch in a restaurant that is in the city-owned building, or stuff like this. That's why our approaches are really different, because I treat myself as a part of ecosystem, and I would never create my own coin, because I can use it in zloty now. I can spend my, related to the normal market. But what I'm really thinking about, how we can work as an ecosystem, there's small ecosystems. Because we don't only need trust between abstract people, we need trust between people we are really close to, because we will really need to know each other for the next crises. And somehow we had in Poland a stress test, like a few million of Ukrainians that fled in Poland, and the voluntary network that created, it's something that we as a community benefit as well. There are a few organizations that were launched while helping others, and they are thinking how to use the trust to exchange some the other resources. So when we used to have like the free shop for people from Ukraine, Now we are thinking how to use the same logic to do something for people who live in the district, or all people who live in the district. And we have to include the elderly, because the people who are elderly, they have really low retirement money, and they will need some help. And then you can ask yourself, okay, what the people can give you back, or who will pay for them.
I'd like to say several things about community currency and trust. So, first of all, the value of sovereign personal currency is a result of trust. They have zero value if nobody trusts me, really trusts me. So it's not a computer science thing. It's like blood thing. You know, family, friends that are willing to exchange my personal coins against their personal coins. It's the same trust that you're talking about. It's not a different form of trust. And I'd like to explain how, and I should say that the original motivation for this research was community currency, because I believe this is the panacea against global brands and the power that they exert over the economies. And I'd like to explain in a few words how sovereign personal cryptocurrencies can cause the emergence of so I live in a small village in the Judea Mountains, 500 people. So imagine we are the people in the village. And we first did this mutual coin exchange. I gave you my coins, you gave me your coins with everybody. So we have a liquid economy, but to pay him, I have to get his money through, so it's a bit complicated. So we say, why complicate things? Let's use the village board, a committee, and establish a community bank with the community currency. So how will this happen? The bank issues community coins, and we do a mutual credit with the bank. So I give the bank my personal coins, and the bank gives me 100 bank coins. And now we all have bank coins, which we all willing to accept for our goods and services, community bank coins, and then we can start trading in the community bank coin, in the community coins. So, so personal coins can give rise to community currency. And why do we need them? Because these are the only collateral that the bank has. So the collateral the bank has against my personal coins is the fact that I own Matt coins and Joanna's coins. So if the bank loses trust in me or thinks that I'm maybe not creditworthy, they can redeem the UDI coins that the bank has and take more Matt coins and more Joanna coins. So the bank can control the exposure it has to different community members without hampering their liquidity. So I still have the bank coins that the bank gave me, but I have less Matt coins and less Joanna coins because the bank took me, increasing the bank's exposure to Matt and Joanna and decreasing the exposure to me, which the bank deems as risky. So there is a lot of flexibility here where this all happens out of thin air. There's no external capital, there are no external credits, there's no gold, there's no merchandise, it's just trust. So it's just how trust moves around the system. Basically, the bank in doing this shifted the burden, so he trusts me less, but you still trust me, so you're willing to hold my coins even though the bank dumped my coins. So by doing so, the bank increased the risk of Matt and Joanna, because now you have my coins, but I have less of your coins. So, so this is technically how a community currency can emerge from personal currencies. And just to say that different communities can achieve mutual liquidity. If my village, we have an Arab village next door, Abu Ghosh. So if there's a Nataf currency and an Abu Ghosh currency, and the banks have mutual trust, they can exchange their village coins, and now there's liquidity between the two villages, so I can go to the next village and buy there with my village coins because they know that they can exchange in their bank my village coins against their village coins. So this way you can create currency areas in a grassroots way. Again, without government or external banks or capital.
Yeah. For me, there is always a question whether in this kind of communities you have the universal basic income, whether each of the members, only by being a member of the community, gets enough local money to be able to survive. Mm-hmm. For me, this is quite important because when I think about the system that I'm having my own money, or this another version of the community bank, what happens when I'm ill? What happens when I'm pregnant? What happens when I'm old? And for me, like thinking in the alternative money, not forgetting about the social security issues, it's something really important because we are quite young. Like many people who are like in the alternative money, they are quite young, and they are. And we often forget that we have the right as well of not working, and very huge success of our civilization is the ability to go into the sick leave. Probably not in the US.
Yeah, I mean, so a couple things. One is that the way that I think about these kinds of like the provision of mutual support, is that the base layer of a currency that is more precisely controlled by, you know, at whatever level we want to issue it, could become, in my opinion, like an easier basis for the creation of sort of mutual cooperatives and you know, community institutions. They could provide that kind of mutual support. So I just wanted to say that, you know, to me, there's no sort of contradiction between the sort of system that Udi is describing and a system with universal basic income or this kind of mutual support, but they're just sort of operating at different levels of the.
Well, I think that the scheme I described does directly support UBI in several ways. First of all, among people, if people, let's say you're sick and we want to help you, we can just exchange more coins. Even if you're sick, you can still print more coins. Your computer allows you to print as many coins as you want. So we can still exchange more of your coins with our coins and give you more credit. So you'll have more credit to do this. And also the bank, in some, I didn't stress it, but the example I gave before showed that even though the bank gave each person, you know, 100 coins or 1,000 coins in the community, the bank changed the exposure to different people without changing the amount of bank coins each one has, just by shifting the underlying risk among how much the exposure of the bank to the personal coins of different people. So it's a kind of initial universal credit. Furthermore, the bank can, with external capital or without, also institute a form of UBI to the community by, say, increasing, giving every community member one bank coin every day, okay? Just as an example. Now, the bank will have, if it wants to keep capital adequacy, it'll have to get these coins from somewhere, either from outside, from the government, from philanthropists, from rich community members, whatever, but there is not, the scheme actually was geared and was designed also to support universal basic income in a very direct way.
So I'd like to ask one more question, and then it would be great to open it up to the audience. But so to me, one of the both central problems that community currencies are trying to solve, and one of the obstacles to their uptake, is what I like to call the problem of exit, basically, the problem of sort of removal of value from community contexts. So the way that I think about this is that if you think about what you know, a more or less universal currency like the dollar or like the Bitcoin does, if you think about what that's good for, what it's really good for is that if you get a lot of it, then you can cut your dependencies. You can remove your dependencies from your community and just leave it and just tell everybody, I'm, you know, moving to the Bahamas and I'm going to build a mansion and I don't need you anymore.
Dependent what kind of dreams we have. I don't have this kind of dreams. No. I want to stay in the place where I live, and I want to build a network, a very complex network of connection between the people I know, because I know that alone I'm too weak to survive current crisis, not talking about incoming crisis.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. But I think that the institutions that we have, because they facilitate that kind of exit, they encourage these kinds of dreams, right? They encourage the dream of departing and removing dependencies, and community currencies. You know, if we made them an important part of our lives and our livelihoods, they would represent more of a commitment to a particular place or a particular network or a particular community, and yet one of the things that makes them, that has made it more difficult, I think, for them to succeed is that because this dream of escape is so powerful, people are tempted to convert whatever value they accrue in a community currency into a more universal currency that gives them this sort of maximum optionality, ability to decrease their local social ties, and I guess, you know, just to add a little wrinkle to this, and I'd love to hear both of your reactions, is that you know, this, in a way it makes sense that community currencies have they have a lot of success in sort of crisis situations and things like that, because when people do really well in a particular community currency, they have the ability to leave the community currency system. And I wonder whether, you know, to me, the real dream of sort of transforming the way that our world works economically depends on the idea of somehow creating systems that people want to stay in or are willing to stay in even after they do well. Even, you know, instead of, you know, using whatever leverage they have to remove value from a community and cut their local ties. I'd love to hear your thoughts about that.
I'll be happy to answer this. First, you've asked me this question, or I think I read it in your article, you know, half a year ago when we spoke first. So I've been thinking about it. I'm not sure I have a good answer, but I have a beginning of an answer. There are two types of problematic people in a community that I'm describing, in a liquid, grassroots digital community. One is the people who go insolvent, you know, they consume more than they produce, and then they go to the beach, and other people have their coins, they can do nothing with it, so they're stuck with bad debt. And the other type of problematic character is the cash hogger, which sells more and more things and doesn't buy anything and just hogs cash. And the problem is that when this happens, there will be no, let's say I'm a cash hogger, so there will be no UDI coins in circulation. So people will have to buy them from me, say using fiat money or something, because if they want to get my merchandise or my goods or my services, they cannot get coins because all the coins that I've issued were used. So putting this aside, I think it's important to distinguish between liquidity and wealth. What sovereign cryptocurrencies encourage and allow people to build in a positive way, and everybody is more happy, is liquidity. Liquidity is trust. The more liquidity you get, the more it means that people trust you. But you cannot take liquidity out, because liquidity is always mutual. So if you have a lot of liquidity, it means that you have many other people's coins, but other people have your coins. So when you go out, cashing out means redeeming all your coins or other people's coins against your coins, and going out, but then you'll be left with nothing. So if you have wealth, you can go out. But if you have liquidity, there's no exit from liquidity.
That's a very interesting distinction. And so as I think you know, I mean, a lot of Radical Exchange's work also concerns property rights. You know, so it concerns the sort of rules around the legal entitlements that we call property that constitute wealth. And so if what you're saying is that your design addresses liquidity problems, but in order to address the sort of issue of accrual of wealth, which also enables you to exit as long as the property rights are acknowledged in different communities, it's a different question. It requires the examination of a different set of institutions.
Well, I would rephrase the question differently. I'm saying in a good community, in a good people who like each other and work together and give each other credit, cash hoggers will be ostracized. I mean, they'll be, I forget the English term, but they'll be shamed in public. Okay? It's not a good thing to be a cash hogger. You know, in capitalism, it's a great thing to be a cash hogger. Everybody admires the cash hoggers. But in the system I'm describing, a cash hogger is working against the community, not for the community. And if you are not a cash hogger, if all you have is liquidity, you cannot exit. You cannot exit. You can exit, but then you will leave all your liquidity here and go somewhere else with zero liquidity.
I wouldn't like to live in such a radical world. I would like to live in the world that you have the parallel ways to plug into the society. At the moment, if you want to participate in the social life of the city, which means going to the theater, spending times in cafe, you only can do it in zlotys. What I would like to do, to live in a world when you can do something which is good for the community and be a part of the same system that the people that pay in zlotys are. And for me, thinking in this like parallel worlds is very important, because not all the people will be able to change straight ahead the money that they spend. I wouldn't like to have two different systems. One coffee places for people with the local money and another one with the people with cash or national money. But it would be nice to have a place when you can use both of them to mix different types of earning the money, because I think we would have a need to earn some money outside of our communities, which is nice as well.
Absolutely.
Maybe I should just clear what I said.
Okay.
People who take their money and donate it to the social good, like the Gates Foundation or other contributions, are exactly what I'm talking about, because the wealth that they have is being recirculated to the community. So that's not. I'm not against. It's not personally. The system is not against that. Okay, so that's as long as you contribute back the wealth that you've made, you can still be wealthy, but you contribute and make a lot of money. But as long as you contribute it back, then you do not. Then you're supportive of the liquidity in the community. You're not hampering it.
Would love to use a small amount of remaining time for questions from the audience, if anyone. Yeah. And so, for the benefit of the recording, the question was that Udi's design is similar to the original design of Ripple, and could you comment on that?
Yes. So we acknowledge that in the paper, and yes, it is very similar. I think the motivation may be different, and I'm not sure the idea of coin redemption is stated, as such as a basic principle. So there are lots of. For example, the idea of mutual credit lines is there is trust lines, there is another approach, and there's circles, which is another approach. There are many predecessors to what we're doing, which we happily acknowledge. And if there's something we don't acknowledge, I'll be happy to know about this. So it is similar, but it is unique in the specifics that Ripple was designed and emerged as yet another cryptocurrency. The entities that are being operating are servers, not people, So, of course, what we're doing is inspired by a lot of previous work, and its specifics work because there are these specifics.
Any other questions?
Personal money or local money, I'm a little bit puzzled about the problem of solving other things. So basically scarcity, as I understand that.
So the question is these ideas address the issue of liquidity, but they don't necessarily address the idea of material scarcity or the speculative dynamics in markets and in
Like with the shelter, for example, need for shelter, like a basic human right.
right, basic needs. Any thoughts in the very quickly?
Well, of course, we don't aim to solve all the world's problems, but I don't see the reason for a secondary market to emerge because there's no primary market. The primary market is if you have goods, you can price them in UDI. If I have goods which are scarce, I price them in UDI coins, and if they become scarcer, I double the price and triple the price, and I can price my goods and services in terms of UDI coins as much as I want. So the standard market dynamics will apply. There is secondary market in a sense in insolvent. Let's say Matt becomes insolvent, okay? So if you have Matt coins, you cannot redeem them from Matt because he has nothing. I also have Matt coins, but I know Matt. He just went to the beach for a few days. He will come back. He'll start working hard, and so I keep holding him. But you want to get rid of the Matt coins because you don't know that he's going to come back. You think he's going to stay in the beach for the next 5 years, and you need cash. So you may sell Matt coins to me at a discount, which is an arm's length transaction, which is perfectly fine because you cannot redeem them one-to-one. So there will be secondary market, not secondary, there will be a free market in coins of insolvent people, which some people trust them more to become solvent, other people don't believe in them, and people will bet whatever they want on insolvency.
And our time's up, unfortunately, but I want to thank the panelists very, very much. And
thank you.
Yeah, enjoy the rest of the day.
We agree more than you think.
It's not always easy to recognize. It may look like this, or like this. It may be a burden, but it is a responsibility that we embrace nonetheless. But if it means this for one person and this for someone else, maybe it ultimately means being there for one another. It isn't handed to us, but we know where to find it. And how it feels, how it tastes, and what it sounds like when we finally have it. It means different things to different people, but for many, it means everything. And if we all fight for it, it will eventually bring us together.
Ihre Ausreise
Atlas Network is, as the name suggests, a network, and it's global. We work all around the world. We're based in the U.S. We have about 159 partners in the United States right now, and the bulk of our partners are outside, nearly 500 in total.
Atlas Network, it connects people from all over the world, defending the idea of human dignity, defending human rights and personal liberties.
Atlas Network is focusing on, I think, the most important and moral cause in the entire world.
We partner with local innovators, local leaders who understand conditions on the ground in communities facing real challenges. We look at the people from the worldwide freedom movement that are passionate, are ready to make a difference, understand local conditions, and we invest in them.
At Atlas Network, we unleash individual ingenuity to enrich humanity.
The United States does not have a lock on the idea of freedom and liberty. Those ideas are beyond borders.
One of the main goals of Atlas Network is to eradicate poverty around the world, and we do that by investing millions of dollars in our partners' work every year.
Historically, wealthy nations around the world have tried to help low-income countries develop. The way we've been doing it traditionally has not really been working. So there's a movement to do development differently, and that means we need to step back as outsiders and rethink the role that we're playing in helping people in low-income countries achieve their dreams.
We want to make the world a better place. We want to make the world a freer world.
All of us want to leave a legacy and be part of something big to make a better world. This is exactly the work of Atlas Network.
With our growing number of hundreds of successful partners, we're stronger than ever.
Changing the world.
Changing the world.
Changing the world
starts together
with us.